Okay. The security systems are almost online. And now to work on the voice commands. Huh. It's interesting. Getting a reading from the YouTube comments section. What's it say? Well, there's only one thing I have to say about that. Play my intro. Greetings, geeks and girls. I'm the Joyful Jester, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave for another comic book movie review. Let's talk about Roger Corman. Roger Corman. What can you say about the guy? He was the B-movie king, pumping out movies almost every week, with movies like Little Shop of Horrors, The Raven, Galaxy of Terror. Studios liked him because he made movies cheap and he made movies fast. Now, why the heck am I telling you all this? Well, it turns out he did work on one comic book movie. Now, this is actually my first fan request. Thank you so much for requesting. So, without further ado, let's get into the background. Branded as Marvel's first family by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, the founding family of Marvel's creators, on an outer space adventure, they were hit by cosmic rays, and the four were changed forever in the most fantastic ways. Scientist Reed Richards became the elastic Mr. Fantastic. His girlfriend and later wife Sue Storm became the Invisible Woman. Johnny, her brother, became the Human Torch. And, of course, Reed's best friend Ben Grimm became everyone's favorite ever-loving blue-eyed thing. After being blessed with their powers, the four of them decided to become superheroes and save the planet from intergalactic threats. Galaxy-hopping superheroes, baby. It's sad to say that outside of two animated shows that did pretty well with fans, the Fantastic Four have actually bombed pretty hard in movies. After all, we have tried again, and again, and again, and again. But this was actually the first of their films. So, now that we get that out of the way, let's move on to the movie. And, as usual, let's start with the pros. Alright, pros time. First of all, the cast is fantastic. I really do buy the family dynamic they're trying to sell with this film. Also, the costumes aren't bad. The four look like they jumped right off the page. The Thing's makeup is actually really expressive throughout the entire film, and I actually think it looks really, really good. And even Dr. Doom manages to look pretty on point to how he looks in the comics. Now, before we get into the cons, and this might be a topic for another day, but why is it so hard to get Dr. Doom right? I mean, he's one of the most powerful villains in the Marvel Universe. Hitler on steroids, basically. Yet in all other movie incarnations, except for maybe this one, he's pretty much given the shaft. Though I suppose we'll see how Marvel ends up handling it. But the second that Robert Downey Jr. takes his helmet off to just stroke his ego a bit, I'm done. Now that we got that note out of the way, let's move into the cons. This movie is cheap. Maybe too cheap for its own good. I mean, the effects are very hit and miss, and while some of them look fine, some of them look... yeah... like a PS2 game. Now, I'm at an impasse about the plot, because on one hand, it's told really well, but on the other, it feels like it's all over the place. The first half of the film focuses on Reed and Victor, college best friends who are scientists trying to go to space to discover something called Colossus. Nope, not that Colossus, but, come to think of it, they don't really explain that either. After being introduced to the family that we're going to be spending the movie with, we see the experiment go horribly wrong and Victor is scarred permanently. Cut to years later, where now everybody's a bit older, and Sue's mom calls them the Fantastic Four. I guess the real Fantastic was the four we made along the way. Anyways, Reed is planning on taking the three of them to a space adventure using this device that's a crystal. but this weird, creepy underground guy who I think is supposed to be Mole Man, but they never really call him that, is trying to steal it because that he wants to impress a girl that Ben has a crush on who's blind. I think she is, at least. Again, they don't really outright say it, but judging by how she moves and reacts, I think that's what they're trying to imply. So the fans know where this is going. The experiment goes haywire, they get hit by cosmic rays, and they crash down to Earth, right? That's not what they do here. I guess that they must have burnt up in orbit, and then the ship goes BOOM! So the rest of the film is them trying to figure out their powers, and as they're doing that, Dr. Doom makes a deal with this mole man looking guy, and the two of them lure Ben Grimm, who's ashamed of his powers, into a headquarters where they actually have the girl he had a crush on earlier as a hostage. I will say, as much as I make fun of the title dropping, I do get the chills every single time Ben says it's clobbering time.
It's clobbering time.
Although, as much as I love the thing, I will say there's a plot hole I cannot forgive. How does he turn back into himself at one point? They don't even address why he does it, and then when he leaves and goes outside to go tell the group, he's just back to being the thing again. Wasn't the whole point of him trying to get back to normal? Overall, this movie was actually pretty good. I am very ashamed to say that the Fantastic Four have been consistently fumbled, and the fact that this one wasn't even released is just a sad case, because I think this is one of the better ones. It does have the constant theme of family in it. The effects, while dated, can be pretty fun to watch, and overall the characters are what matter, and it did deliver on what I wanted to see. I just feel so ashamed that this movie had been shelved. Why does that keep happening to comic book movies? Or non-comic book movies, now that I think about it. Regardless of all of that, this is actually a pretty decent movie, and as for my rating, I'm going to give it an appropriate 4 issues in the long box. It is a pretty good movie, and I feel like that for those who can stomach the cheesy effects and lines, it's still an appropriate comic book movie for the time. I feel like it stands next to some of the better ones, opposed to some of the really cheap ones. So, for now, I'm the Joyful Jester, and it's clobbering time.